You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with your host, D-Cal.
And what up, everybody? Happy Friday. Here hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast from the GNS. You here in Northern California, man. Happy Friday. This week has been a really busy week. I'm not going to say hectic. It's been a really busy week. So I apologize. You guys didn't get any episode this past Monday or this past Wednesday. Today was going to be another busy day, but I had to get at least one episode in here. So to those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. To those of you who are returning, welcome back to E.I.T.H.R podcast, the elephant in the room, where we talk about discussions and topics that are usually difficult for people to have with their peers, because people tend to be short-sighted or one-sided, or they only believe their opinion is right. So we look at things from a multitude of angles, and I give you my opinion. So even if you don't agree with what I'm saying here, at least you'll be more informed with what it is that you're disagreeing with. So let's get this thing to it. Social media, you can follow us at the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R, on Instagram as well as Twitter. You can sign up to our TV channel, which is it's GNSETV.com. GNSETV.com. Free subscription. Just all you gotta do is and go from there. Greatly appreciate it. 916-282 9372. That's the number to the podcast. So if you have any calls or any questions, or you can even text that number and give suggestions of what it is you think or would like for me to bring up here on any one of the episodes. So anyone who's new to this, what I off with inspiration, and I give shout outs. So before we get into the topics at hand. So first thing I want to do is I want to shout out everybody who is not melting in this valley heat right now. Shout out to the brave souls who decided to take a road trip to Death Valley this past week when it was like an earth record of 130 plus degrees. That's cute. And I want to give a shout out also to my homegirl, Gia. Hopefully your device is updated and you're able to get this podcast in more than just 5-minute increments. I think we both can agree, girl, it was user error, not me. It was all you. And I hope your knee feels better. Gia carries around a lot of she does a lot of work at her job, and she had a boo-boo, and I just wanted to make sure that she's okay. Yeah, so there's that. Inspirational, motivational. Listen, this is something that I think everybody can attest to this. Listen, I'm gonna grab this from the late Nipsey Hussle, and it's stay in your lane. There's no traffic in your lane. Right? Everybody wants to do something that everybody else is doing. That's popular. That's where everyone is. That's where sometimes you don't want all the eyes on you. You just don't. So do what you got to do to keep the eyes off of you until it's ready for them to be on you. If that makes any sense. So there's no traffic in your lane, man. You can go at your own pace. You can go at your own flow. There's no pressure, there's no expectation, there's none of that. So whatever it is that you do, stay there. tunnel vision. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on the end zone. Keep your eyes on the end result. And believe it or not, it's going to happen sooner than later. That's just how it works. So, yeah, so that's that. So I'm going to do some breaking news right quick before we, actually, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the breaking news after the fact. So we're going to get a shout out from one of our sponsors. And then when we come back from that, we're going to do this breaking news. And then we're going to get into the two topics that I had set up in the description for episode number 125. And I'm going to give you my opinion on how I feel and what I think. And that is going to be that. So sit tight, stay tuned. We're going to make this real quick and tight. And be right back. It's your boy Decal to E.I.T.H.R podcast here at the GNS HQ in Northern California. Be right back.
Stop stalling and start miling. Mile.today. That's MILE.today. Mile today. Make it look easy.
Cool. So, breaking news, just so we can go and get that going. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Anyone who is unfamiliar with what I got going on or whatever, so I created this. I'm creating a company. I created a company, the GNS, right? So the GNS Inc. You can even go to the website, thegnsinc.com. And this company that I created is kind of an umbrella company for different businesses in which that I want to create, I want to be involved with. So the best way to describe it is kind of like this. Think of as a record label. And this is how I usually explain it to people. This is a record label. Each business that I have, you can look at it as own individual recording artists. So they have their own lane, their own thing, their own goal, their own destination, their own clientele, their own fan base, their own genre, if you will. So that's what the GNS Inc. ultimately. So we have Mile clothing line, make it look easy. So it's Mile.today, which we're coming out with a swimwear, 2-piece bikini and a 1-piece swimsuit. Also coming out with some shorts for the season, before the summer gets over. Clearly. So that's Mile. Make it look easy. Mile.today, right? So then, as you guys probably hear, the instrumentals in the background, that's GNS Entertainment. And we just put a post up not too long ago that we're going to be working on another movie film. And I got the outline for it just last night. So we've already created a movie script a while back. We're also going to take that movie script and we're going to put it into a, if you will, like a TV series, which is going to be separate from the movie. And I started on another script for more of like a underworld meets Game of Thrones meets Blade type of film idea. So I kind of started that movie script as well. So this new one, it's I think it's going to be very interesting because it's kind of New Jack City meets Snowfall meets Power type of thing, right? But I don't want to get anything too much with it. But that's what we got going on for GNS Entertainment. Okay, so that's how that goes. GNS ETV, which you guys already know, that's our own TV channel, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's pretty much control the media, control what I put, the content, so on and so forth. People hate when I give this comparison, but it's great for people to understand it. It's very similar to if YouTube and Tubi, or YouTube, Tubi, and Netflix were to kind of morph together. That's ultimately what is similar, but it's better because it's mine. So that's that, and that's part of the GNSE aspect, the GNS Entertainment. Without going too far down the rabbit hole of all the different things, we have our very own shoe line, and the shoe line is a bunch of casual type of shoes. They're made in Anacoy, Italy, so it's 100% Italian leather. And we just released our very first running style sock running shoe. And yo, it is super soft and super light. Like 100% super soft, super light. Like it has like a new car smell, but it's a shoe. So it's like a new shoe smell. It's pretty dope. I'm excited. And you know, I got a handful, well, maybe a finger or two full of negative comments about opinion, which is cool. Already designed the second pair of running shoes, and if you follow the social media for the parent company, which is at the GNS Inc., you can find that on Instagram. You can also find that on Twitter, TheGNSINC, right? So you can follow that, and you'll see the running shoes. You'll also see a montage of mid and women's heels that I got coming within the next month or two before summer ends. Everything should be released before the fall, right? So we're gonna have a hot girl summer before you know it, with some styles that's very unique and one of a kind. And my whole thing is I want to try to do shit to make it original and stand out. So, side note, before we get into the meat of this, I do want to say that Payless, if anyone's seen the video, Payless created a fake, what was it? It was a fake high-end shoe store. I think it was called like Palazzi, right? And they promoted the hell out of it, so on and so forth. And all these celebrities like came out and they were up into this in that world, in that tax. And yo, they spent grips on these shoes, and they're being interviewed and saying, well, you can see how they're good quality shoe, and you could tell that it was good craftsmanship and it was taken care of. And so, I mean, they really selling it up. And at the end of everything, that's when Payless kind of let them all in. We got you, bro. You've been fugazi. You got finessed heavily. And so you see a lot of these people in this video, like in disbelief, like, no, we weren't. And it kind of just goes to show that this, I don't want to say facade, but it's a game, right? It's a game. A lot of this stuff a lot of things are priced not so much based on what they're worth, but they're priced based on what they know people will pay. Now, there is I do believe there is a thing where, you get what you pay for. I do believe in that. I am a believer in the quality of stuff similar to that. But in many cases, man, a lot of people, they know cats are going to pay for it just to sit back and say, I spent $30,000 on these shoes, pants, shirt, and hat, belt, just to say they spent $30,000 on it, so they can feel as if he, she, they are, whatever. But it was just interesting watching how sometimes the facade is just created. And my thing is this: if you're willing to drop X amount of dollars on a brand that everyone has, everyone's heard of, everyone knows about, which, okay, cool, is your prerogative. I get it. Why are you reluctant to drop that same amount of money on someone who's coming up, who's trying to make a statement in the game, trying to plant his or her flag? So my thing is this: if you got somebody who is starting their own culinary business, their own sandwich shop, their own whatever it is, man, you know what I'm saying? Like their own coffee shop, their something, support him or her. Do that, right? You know them. Why not support them? And don't be so quick to take a brand new or a small up and coming business owner and ask him or her for the hookup, for the discounts. Like, you don't email Nike and ask them to give you 20% off. You know they got it. So if your homegirl is starting her own business, you know what I'm saying, don't pester her for a discount on doing something. Like my homegirl Ari, she does nails, right? I think it's like Dazzled Nails by Ari. It's on her Instagram. And so, allow her, if she's going to, hook you up, give you a discount or whatever, or give you something that she normally doesn't do, allow her to offer that to you out of the gracious of her heart. Don't expect her to do it because, y'all know each other. There's a difference between a gratuity and an expectation, right? Like my homegirl Trina, she's a massage therapist, and she's in a market right now where people, you get what you pay for. I'll just say that. And what she's going to be offering with her services is something that the competition isn't offering. So understand the quality, understand the value of stuff. Don't just understand the price and make the judgment off of that. Because like I said, Palasi, however they pronounced it in the video, they basically they took a Payless shoe, slapped an Italian name on it, added a couple of numbers, threw on a comma. That was the price tag. And people in, this certain area of Southern California happily paid for it. Shit's whack to me. You know what I'm saying? Support your peoples, man. Support your peoples. So like I said, shout out to my homegirl Ari, shout out to Trina, who they're doing their thing. Shout out to everybody else who's out there doing their thing. But I wanted to just let you guys know that, it isn't an easy path. It's a very simple one. It's not an easy one, but it is a very simple one, and go get it. Don't get discouraged. And if you see your peoples out there doing their thing, it doesn't hurt to pass the word. Shout out to Marissa. She was a guest on my podcast last week. She's a prime example of a walking billboard of whatever you got and whatever you do. Shout out to the teacher. She know who she is. When she's not teaching meaties and gummies and everything in the Bay Area, she's passing the word. Shout out to my LB, because she's a walking mini billboard. You take care of your people, they'll take care of you. That's what that is. That's how that breaks down. So, RTS Cadence, you can see those running shoes on runthesestreets.net. That's part of the GNS Inc. umbrella. I promise I'm going to do a lot more for you guys to bring to the table. It's a one-man show, so just, please be patient on that. So, one of the things we talked about is Florida. So, what had happened was in Florida, your boy DeSantis thought he was going to do something colorful, do something nice. And right now, I'm going to go to Instagram quick, and we are going to speak on that. Give me just one quick second to get there. Here we go. Yes. So if you go to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, E.I.T.H.R, go to the E.I.T.H.R on Instagram, you'll see it. Florida approves curriculum teaching that black people gain personal benefit from slavery. Duh. Right? I mean, duh. How can you even argue that? If you couldn't tell I'm being sarcastic, you're an idiot. Right? But this is it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the article itself. So like I said, you can go to the IG page and you can see it. And it's // 5x6. So what we're going to do is we're going to read part of the article just so there's some content, some context in what we're saying, so people don't think that this is out of context. So it goes like this. The Florida Board of Education voted to greenlight on Wednesday, 2 days ago, day before yesterday, new standards for teaching African American history in public schools despite criticism from civil rights and education groups. Republican governor and presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis has pushed a law since 2022 regulating how the issue of race is to be taught in the schools, in the state schools, and education standards and parental participation are major points of Florida's politics and the governor's campaign. State lawmakers passed legislation recently that forbids schools from telling students anyone is privileged or oppressed based on the color of their skin or race. The new state standard requires educators to teach middle school students that slaves developed skills which, in some cases, could be applied for their personal benefit, according to CNN. Moreover, historical events where Black Americans were victims to violence will require certain teaching instructions. I'll read this insert and then we'll go from there. When high school students learn about events such as the 1920 Ocoee Massacre, the new rules require that instruction include acts of violence perpetuated against and by African Americans. The massacre, acts of violence perpetuated against and by. The massacre is considered the deadliest election day violence in U.S. history, and according to several histories of the incident, it started when Moses Norman, a prominent black landowner in Ocoee, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Florida, community, attempted to cast his ballot and was turned away by white poll workers. Similar standards are noted for lessons about other massacres, including the Atlanta Race Massacre, the Tulsa Race Massacre, and the Rosewood Race Massacre. Got one last sentence, because this is, oh no, we're almost done. This is so good. Our children deserve nothing less than truth, justice, and the equity our ancestors shed blood, sweat, and tears for. said Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, in a statement. It is imperative that we understand that the horrors of slavery and Jim Crow were a violation of human rights and represents the darkest period in American history. Meanwhile, the Florida Education Association, adding it was a big step backward for a state that has required teaching African American history since 1994. I'm going to repeat that, sorry. Meanwhile, the Florida Education Association condemned the decision, adding it was a big step backwards for a state that has required teaching African American history since 1994. One of the central tenets of DeSantis' presidential campaign has been his willingness to fight back against woke education standards and critical race theory. I basically just read you the article, verbatim. You can go to newsbreak.com and search for that yourself. So, what up, Florida? I love you. Okay. So here's what I think, in my opinion, my 2 cents. This is what I am gathering is probably the reason for this. Hear me out. I believe they're trying their damnedest to make it to where division of race is to be eliminated. We're going to get rid of racism. We're going to get rid of this division. We're going to get rid of the hate. We're going to get rid of people despising. We're going to get rid of these things. So, instead of teaching people, here's what we're going to do moving forward. Let's learn from what happened in the past. That didn't work. That wasn't a good move. I wish we didn't do that. But okay, well, here we are. Here's how we can fix the problem with this solution moving forward. Instead of taking that approach, they're saying, okay, we are now going to teach. If anything happened bad to black people, they were violent too. Let's not make it seem as if they didn't fight back. Okay, so we may have done this, but you know what? They also had sticks. So we're not going to make them look like the victim. It's think of it as if you have a kid getting bullied at school, and you hear the stories from the kids and the teachers and the administration, it makes it sound as if your child, the one that was getting bullied, was just sitting there taking punches and doing nothing. They're going to now make it seem like, no. Your kid was getting bullied, but your kid was also hitting back. He was fighting. So he may have got picked on, but he was also fighting because he threw punches too. It wasn't self-defense. It was also fighting. I think what they're doing is they're taking that small rebellion against folks during the 60s and any time before that, and saying, okay, we have footage of them fighting the police back. See, this right here, this shows people that they weren't just getting bullied. They were harassing cops. No, I think what they're doing is they're taking that and using that to say they also applied some violent tendencies towards other people as well. So they weren't so innocent. I have a feeling that's the mindset. That's the gaslighting that's being done with this decision. Let me remind you guys, I ain't from Florida. I'm not from the Sunshine State. I do not know the legitimate, literal discussions being broadcasted, being spoken I read you an article from seemingly a non-biased source and read you the article so you can hear the words. And again, newsbreak.com, you can look it up if you want to read it yourself. There's even a video of it. This is what we call gaslighting, because you're telling somebody that something that happened didn't happen. How many people have dated a narcissist and they're going to tell you what they did to piss you off they didn't do, and you're overreacting? You're crazy. Calm down. How many of you have faced people like that? How many of you have told someone a situation and they sat back and told you that situation wasn't the situation that you told them it was, and that you're overreacting and that you should just let it go because you're being ridiculous? How many of you have been in a situation like that? See, what I do with certain things is I take them and I relate them to situations on a smaller scale, and then I extrapolate it from there. You're telling a culture, yes, that most likely wasn't born during that time, that, well, your grandparents, they did this, and they contributed to the hate. It's a game from those in power to those who are ignorant. It's gaslighting. Sorry. I don't know how else to put it. This is how history changes, is you tell the people what it is, and then you change the print. Right? You change the print. So when everyone's sitting back discussing about, no, this is what it is. No, it's not. This is what it is. No, it's that. No, it's this. No, it's this. No, it's that. And then when you go to do your research for it, it's been edited. See? Told you it was like this. And then over time, when the original story gets resurfaced, it's now discredited as fake and false. That's interesting. That's interesting. It's very interesting. And the part that got me was the paragraph that I read to you guys twice. Here's the third time. Meanwhile, in Florida Education Association condemned the decision, adding it was a big step backward for a state that has required teaching African American history since 1994. Since 94, it was a requirement. When did Florida become established as a state? Wait, wasn't Florida part of the 13 colonies? Am I wrong? I might be wrong. I think I'm wrong. We'll say I'm wrong. It wasn't part of the 13 colonies. But when was Florida established? So it was around during the, okay. It was around in the 60s? Okay, cool. It was. All right, cool. I just want to make sure. Was Florida around in the 50s? It was in the 50s, huh? Yeah, okay, cool. So if you have relatives that were alive during some of these times, the governor is basically going to sit back and say, you have dementia. Because it didn't happen that way. I can guarantee you. I know you were the victim of that violence, but I'm pretty sure you did something in the middle of that fight too. So you're not so innocent. I think that's the direction we're going. Okay. What's your opinion? How do you feel? I mean, yeah. So, for those of you who are not old enough to remember this, Tupac Shakur was a young phenom of a musician and entertainer. I'm sure you can imagine the history. You've heard the songs, you've seen some of the films, you may have even seen, the film All Eyes on Me. When I saw that movie in the theaters, bro, I was like, Pocking dead, he's on the screen, because homie looked dead ass on Tupac Shakur. But we're going to cut right into it. The night in Vegas. And so if you were around back at that time, you understood what the situation is. Now we are July 21st. Okay. July 21st. Here is a post on Facebook by an entertainer, musician. I know I'm going to mess this name up. Ceradi. Ceradi. This was posted, it looks like January 23rd. It says January 23rd. This is July 21st. This has been in heavy circulation recently, in the past couple of days. There was a man that got into a fight with at the casino, Orlando Anderson. Everyone remembers that. If you're old enough to remember, you know what it was. Seemingly, Orlando got stomped out in the casino, and there was a retaliation later on that night. Well, there's a gentleman who's from Los Angeles by the name of Keefe D, who says he's the uncle of Orlando Anderson, who later, I believe, was killed in 1998. He claims he knows exactly what happened. And word on the street is, Big Homie here wrote a book, talked about it in a book, and dropped some change on some people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this passage on social media that has been floating around. And I'm sure you can probably also find this on social media as well.